Trevor, you're going to open since there's no
Yeah, I'll open.
Thank you.
That may not stay.
It might not stay.
Yeah,
Right.
that's all good.
We'll have you. You'll have one for you next time.
It's kind of dark.
Oh, the other side.
I'll just bring my own.
Okay. Okay. I will.
Mood lighting.
Mood lighting. Yes. I will call this meeting to order. And move to the first item on the agenda,
Oh, there you go.
which is the appointment of a Historic Review Board chair. We have a full board once again, and this is your opportunity to, I guess, talk amongst yourselves. For the newer members, new but old members, to introduce themselves and kind of discuss how we would like to move forward and what your thoughts are on appointing a chair. And if you want one, you can definitely appoint one tonight.
I'm pretty sure we want to have a chair.
Yes, so I will
Yes.
leave that to you.
Yes.
I guess the first question would be, is there anyone who particularly does or does not want to serve as chair?
I nominate you.
Was that a?
I nominate Ken as chair. Any second?
I don't refuse.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that nomination.
Any discussion before we go to a vote or anything like that?
No,
Will you take it?
I will take it.
And I guess so. I'll call roll. So Commissioner or Board Member Met,
Aye.
Board Member Basinger, or sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. Board Member Blythe,
Aye.
Board Member Mann,
Aye.
and Board Member McLaughlin,
Aye.
and then Board Member Basinger.
Well, my vote is irrelevant.
So
I'll-
yeah.
Aye.
Okay, it passes. Ken is now the chair of the Historic Review Board.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. There it is. I have public comment cards for any who want to speak on any subject during the course of this. You should fill them out now.
I think this public comment is for anybody who's not
general
comments other than.
So
Yes. Are there any public comments regarding items not on the agenda? Okay. We'll now open the public hearing then. Are you going to read it or am I going to read it?
Well, here's how I think we gotta start. We're gonna start with item 4A. HR 17-04, Historic Review Board request to review Phase 1 of the proposed Public Works Operations Facility. As the board may recall, or the few of you who were on the board at the last meeting, we opened the public record, we took testimony, you all made a tentative decision, and we, staff went back and revised the findings consistent with your decision and have brought it to you again. So where this sits right now is sort of after the public comment period, the record is closed. We haven't taken any more comments since you closed the record at the last meeting. So where this is for you is to deliberate on the content of the findings, ask staff any questions, and move adoption. So rather than read all of the disclosures that go with a public hearing where we take public testimony, I am just going to ask those board members who intend on participating, who have reviewed the materials at the previous meeting, have reviewed the record, and feel comfortable weighing in on the content of the decision before you tonight, to disclose quickly if you've had any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, or bias since our last meeting, which was 5:24.
Something like that.
So let's do that step first, and then I will turn it back over to you, and you will deliberate and make a decision on the merits. The 23rd was the last hearing. Anybody have any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, or disclosures since 5/23 that they wish to disclose?
Mr. McLaughlin,
No.
Mr. Blythe,
Nope.
Ms. Met.
Well, I guess I
Is this where
better,
say-
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say whether are you gonna participate.
I will not be participating tonight because I was not present and I have not watched the video in entirety.
That would probably be me as well.
Okay. All right. So we're just gonna have the three commissioners in the middle vote since they have reviewed the record and did participate in the last meeting.
Thank you. And do not have ex parte contact.
Anybody wish to question these commissioners about these disclosures? Seeing none.
The revised staff report then.
Yes, okay. So I don't have much of a presentation for this one. It's more or less just the revised findings that I sent out to y'all in revised staff report. It kind of has to go over the items that we discussed last time. I know, and it also, I think, better addresses some of the public comments also that came up last time as well. So we kind of went through that, updated it accordingly, and not much has changed as far as the final decision and the final recommendation go. It's just more or less the findings within the body of the staff report.
Okay. Going the wrong way. Has everybody reviewed the exhibits attached to the findings?
It's a long read.
If we're comfortable that we've read through that,
I didn't see much, I mean, I pretty much covered what we, spoke about. And with my notes, I had my notes from last meeting. So. Was there anything that popped up that would be of any?
Not particularly. We just better address some of the just overall areas as far as maybe those areas of right-of-way go. We're a little bit more clear in the phasing, a little bit more descriptive overall.
Language.
Yeah.
And none of the conditions of approval have changed, right?
No.
Yeah.
in my reading of the revised staff report, I found nothing inaccurate or in need of further revision.
Took me a couple sessions of reading it.
I had a very enjoyable afternoon reading this, and then I took a nap.
Or, so we would need to make a motion to approve the finding, or
The
we've
revised
already
findings.
approved it, we're just approving the findings?
Yeah,
is
the
that-
revised findings.
Or
Yeah.
accepting the findings?
Yes. Before we do that, I do have one question, and that is regarding the comment forms that I have here. We're not taking public testimony on this.
Unless you want to reopen the record. Which you could do. You could reopen the record and you could take testimony tonight if you would like. But that would probably result in us changing our decision, revising our decision again because of the testimony that we take in. You all decided that you would close the public hearing at the
Yes.
last meeting.
And I
So-
think that's appropriate given the very limited nature of our involvement
Purview.
in the big picture of this project. The HRB's authority over this process is extremely limited, and we covered it, I think, pretty adequately in the last meeting. So I would entertain that motion.
I'm going to object. I'm not sure the proper form to do that. But there are 11 new pages in the staff report. Some of it is new evidence, and the public should have a chance to respond.
No, hold on one second.
Well, sit down and state your name for the record would be a start.
Gary. My name's Jesse Buss. I represent the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association. And we came tonight and submitted our notice to speak, and do have written testimony responding to new evidence in the staff report. Again, it's increased from 58 pages or 57 pages to 68 over last month. You made a decision last month. There was no notice to the public that the hearing was continued. There are issues that should be addressed.
The hearing
Well, I
was
was-
not continued.
Yeah, I didn't think the hearing was continued.
I meant to say you closed the hearing, but there was no notice that it would be continued. The agenda for today says that this is a public hearing for this agenda item.
I can appreciate that the agenda says that this is a public hearing, but a public hearing does not mean that the record is open. The HRB made a decision at the last hearing, and the instructions at the end of that hearing were that staff would draft findings and bring them back for HRB's review. There was no indication that the public record would be open. I appreciate that you have some concerns about the content of that decision, and the time to raise them will be on appeal to the City Commission.
Okay. I can appreciate that position, but for the record, we'll still be submitting our comments. You can accept them into the record or not, but we have to try. So, thank you.
Since the record is closed, the only way that you can consider this testimony is to reopen the record and accept it, or to reject it. And you're going to have to, if you've got, I'm not sure if you've got a motion on or not. I think the motion hasn't been made.
No.
I would urge you to, as part of that motion, reject this testimony, exclude it from the record because the record is closed, as part of your motion to approve the staff recommended decision as your own. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It does.
So the tests, if they, we had closed it, I remember specifically that we did close the testimony. So, like you said, that could be considered on an appeal? If
This
it
decision
goes to the...
is appealable to the City Commission.
Okay.
And what will happen, as I understand it, is Trevor, assuming you approve the decision tonight, Trevor will mail a copy of the decision to all the people who participated in the proceeding so far.
On record, right?
And those people have an opportunity to appeal the decision to the City Commission, and then there will be a hearing before the City Commission. And I presume that the objections that were raised will be raised before the city commission.
All right. Given that the record is closed, I reject the testimony and move to adopt the revised staff report as reflecting our decision made last month.
I second it.
Okay, so I can do roll. Board member Met,
Aye.
board member Blythe,
Aye.
board member and then chair Basinger.
Aye.
Okay, so motion passes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is PC 17-077, HR 1701, regarding single-family home in the Kanema Historic District at the intersection of Ganong and 4th Street.
This is another situation where we've come back to you with findings reflecting the deliberations at the last hearing. So again, I will ask the board if they've had any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, or bias since the hearing.
I put my name in, can I not speak?
I'm sorry,
I put my name in to speak, why can't I speak?
The hearing was closed on that item. You were wanting to
Why
talk
came in
on,
before any of this happened? I just signed,
It was-
I came to this meeting so I could have something to say.
it was
Y'all were 5 minutes late, I was here 10 minutes early.
It was closed at the last meeting, at the
Okay.
time we took the vote.
Why can't can I speak on record? Why can't I speak? How come no one wants to hear what I have to say?
The hearing where this was the substance of the item 4A was discussed at the hearing on May 23rd.
Okay, well,
And that was the only opportunity before the Historic Review Board for you to talk. Well, we had
Unless you said something in prior.
there was a hearing before that too in April. So there were 2 public hearings where folks had an opportunity to testify.
But I don't
Can
understand.
we
I think this is directly affecting me. I live on that house. My house is right next to Public Works. And how come no one's talking to me?
You had opportunity to do
No,
that.
no one has given me any information.
You were noticed, everybody
Claire
with,
Matt,
yeah.
you don't even know what you're doing. Janet Mann and John
Excuse
McLaughlin,
me. Excuse
you
me.
guys didn't even review the last thing.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I'd love to talk to you in the
Yeah,
lobby.
man, that's right.
Carrie, do we have the option of moving back to the general public comments if we just want to let people speak on general topics?
Sure. But this is not something she wants to talk about something that's on the agenda, I believe.
I'm aware that that's probably what she wants to talk about.
But if she wanted to talk about something that wasn't on the agenda, we certainly could go back and take that
Okay.
testimony.
Um,
All right, do you want to move on to item 4B, or do you want to recess? How would you like to proceed?
I would like to keep moving on to 4B.
yeah, let's continue.
Okay.
We have
I think where we were was I had asked if there were any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, or bias to declare since the last hearing.
I have had none.
nor I.
No.
Anyone wish to challenge the commissioners on these disclosures? Okay. As with the previous item 4A, you heard public testimony, you closed the public record, you made a decision. The purpose for our presenting this to you tonight is only for you to review the decision and make sure it is consistent with your deliberation before, and to to find out if you have any further revisions. Trevor?
Yes. Okay. So there's there's a little bit more to this one than there was to the last one. So the biggest items here were, well, changing my decision, I suppose. So the biggest items here the board found it appropriate that let me start over here. So from when I presented my first staff report, I more or less got into the subject of an attached versus a detached garage.
Garage, right.
Yes. The board found the design of the home and the way that the home is situated, and I updated the findings accordingly, to approve the home with an attached garage located beneath the home. The reason for this being because the home is tucked back from Fourth, because it's a side-loading garage, it's not located on the same level of the home. We could require items such as landscaping to kind of reduce some of that massing that's on the front of the home. These criteria and others that are included in the staff report, the HRB found it appropriate to approve the home with an attached garage located underneath. So those are the big changes.
Please be called.
And that's mostly it.
Well, those were all things that we did discuss, though.
Yes.
You know, and gave as findings.
Yes,
to.
correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I just wanted to. It wasn't like you're changing, but you're just spelling it out more in detail.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in the recommendations and the conditions of approval, I took out that line that required the garage to either be detached or removed.
Yep.
And it certainly appears to me that the revised comments reflect the conversation and intent that we had in voting as we
The
did.
citing and stuff, right?
I agree. So I would find that the revised staff report reflects the deliberations and decision last month, and move to adopt the revised staff report.
I'll second again.
And I guess I will ask: have either of you had a chance to review this?
I will abstain.
I did, and I visited the site. Yeah. But I probably, based on the fact that you've had a previous motion and previous meeting, I would have to abstain on it as well, just for fairness' sake.
Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. Okay. So I'll do roll. Board member Met,
Aye.
board member Blythe,
Aye.
and Chair Basinger.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I thank everybody, and we will move on to the next item
Can
on
I
the agenda.
bring up something? Just it's a question. I should ask you.
Let me just address the
Oh.
audience. So you and any commenters will be getting a notice of decision in the mail within the next week or so. So shortly here. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
On the agenda, it says review board request to review on both of those, you know. In the future, so that there's not confusion, can it be said to approve findings on previous decision or something like that, that they
It
don't?
does say that on the commission report.
Oh, it
Click
does?
to the commission report, it does say that. But I appreciate your comment and I share your concerns, and we will,
Because it's kind of
Yeah,
cloudy in
I
that
can
regard.
update
And, you
that.
know, I don't want people, you know, being upset, but, you know, if they weren't aware, you know, so just to,
I fully appreciate the comment,
and I don't know what the wording would be, but just something
and so at
about,
the end of the commission report, it says, the first public hearing for this application was held on
here.
April 25th and continued to May 2nd and May 23rd. The public comment has been closed by the Historic Review Board. Since the last hearing, a draft staff report has been revised with the information in the record to reflect the HRB's findings. So I do appreciate that we need to be more clear on the cover.
as far as like the heading and stuff, because a lot of people don't read the rest of it. They just read, you
I
know,
appreciate that.
that part. Just, you know, so we don't have something like this again.
Right. Yes.
Okay. All right. Moving right along. Sorry.
Okay. Item 4C is PC 17073, HR 17 8-05, alterations to the roof line of a locally designated landmark located at 508 South McLaughlin within the Kenema National Register Historic District.
Okay. Pardon my interruption. These two hearings are the initial public hearings for new projects. So we do have to do the disclosures that go to the public so they know what the rules of the hearing are going to be. I'm going to, since we have such a full room now, I'm going to hopefully do this once, and then if other people show up, we'll do it for the second of the open hearings, but we're going to try to do this once. So we've got 2 open public hearings on land use applications scheduled for tonight. A staff report has been prepared for each application and has been made available to the public 7 days before the first public hearing. The staff report identifies the approval criteria that apply to each of the applicant's proposals. Staff has analyzed the criteria which are contained in the staff report. The quasi-judicial hearing procedure that the Historic Review Board will follow is set out in state law and Oregon Municipal Code. The hearing procedure steps are shown on the chart right over there on the wall. Anyone wishing to speak should fill out a speaker's card and give it to the planning staff before the hearing. Speakers will proceed in the order in which their card is received. You should fill out your address on the card so the city will notify you of its final decision. For the public record, please begin all testimony stating your name. Testimony and evidence should be directed toward the applicable approval criteria. If you believe other criteria apply in addition to those addressed in the staff report, identify and discuss those criteria and explain how and why you believe they apply to the application under consideration. A person may submit any written material while the public record is open on each application. Any written materials received by the city staff during the time period in which the record is open will be placed in the record. Written materials submitted during the public hearing must be presented to the city staff in order to become part of the record. If a person intends for PowerPoint presentations, oversized poster boards, reports, pictures, or other exhibits used in their oral testimony to be placed in the record, copies must be submitted to the city staff while the record is open. If they are not given to city staff, they will not be included in the record. Any person wishing a continuance to present additional evidence or testimony or to keep the record open to respond to new evidence must make that request before the public testimony portion of the hearing is closed. If the Planning Commission makes a decision with which you disagree, any issue that you may wish to appeal must have been raised. If the Historic Review Board makes a decision for which you disagree, any issue that you may wish to appeal must have been raised for the consideration of the Historic Review Board or the City Commission or both, without raising the issue on the record with sufficient specificity or accompanied by statements or evidence that the city and so that the city and all parties can respond. The issue will not be deemed appealable to the State Land Use Board of Appeals. In addition, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issues precludes an action for damages in circuit court. So now we will open the public record for file number HR 17-105 that Chair Basinger mentioned, and we will ask if any of the board members have any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, bias, or other statement to declare. And have any of you visited the site?
Visited the site?
Yes.
You visited the site?
Yes.
Yes.
I have not.
Anybody in the audience wish to question these commissioners about these disclosures? Seeing none, we will now commence with the staff report.
All right, so this is a report or a design review for extending roof eaves on an existing home and essentially adding a covered patio to the existing home as well. The home is located in the Kenema National Historic District, right along South McLaughlin Boulevard, right nearest Miller Street. So this is kind of a picture of what the home looks like. The building envelope of the home looks like. And let's make sure I have the right mouse. So right here and over here, the applicant is wishing to extend these roof eaves so that the home has maybe a better place for water to go and maybe a little bit more cover over the sides of the home. Let's see. So this is a drawing of what the applicant is wishing to do. So just extending these roof eaves over a little bit over right here. So if I flip back again, you can kind of see that in these pictures. And then an aerial view from what it is today to what it will be in the near future, and then there will be a covered porch on the back of the home here. So in reviewing this application, in reviewing the requests from the applicant, this application, what they were doing made a lot of sense, and this home that's here was actually moved here during the, I believe I mentioned here,
Post-World War II.
some of the flooding and notorious flooding in Vanport flooding in Portland. And this house is moved here and is a manufactured home of the time. So that's kind of what the character of the existing home is right now. And I think the home was moved here, and this is kind of what I draw to in the staff report, that it was moved to the Kenema Historic District, and I think adding something like this kind of makes sense in Kenema because of the way that some of the bungalows in Kenema have been that are constructed, and what some of the guidelines for it. And the bungalow design guidelines call for a lower pitched roof. They call it for those wider eaves, and I thought there are some correlations to be made between this home and that bungalow vernacular style. So then moving on, these are the conditions of approval that I recommended, and they're pretty much consistent with the design guidelines for new construction of that bungalow vernacular. That's pretty much that in a nutshell.
Okay. Waiting for the computer. Is the applicant here? Is there anything you would care to state or add to what has been said? State your name for the record.
My name's Dennis Johnson. So, I just want to build eaves around the house. Actually, that porch in the back is already existing. But so, it just has a gable roof now. So the reason is to, the siding has tended to warp and shrink a lot, and so on. It'll protect the siding better and protect the house better. And the second reason, it'll just look more classy, won't look as cheap looking, and also I think it'll blend in with historic houses. They all have eaves. That's about it, really.
Do any board members have any questions of the applicant?
I do, a couple. The porch is already there. Are you just putting are you going to roof over that porch when you're doing this?
So
Extending the roof?
the porch in the back is just a really tiny little 3 foot by 3 foot.
Yeah.
It already has a little overhang.
Okay. I don't
Kind of a
remember
roof.
that.
It already has a little existing roof over that back door.
Okay. Oh, just over the back door, though?
Uh-huh.
Are you going to extend it?
I mean, it comes out like 3 feet maybe,
Okay. I don't remember that.
as you can see in the diagram.
So what
Okay.
you're doing then is extending the main ridge line by approximately 36 inches to make that a single.
Yeah, I was thinking just right at the back of the house, since since that porch sticks out a little, and then there's also another part of the house, like a utility room that sticks out a little. So and that part, maybe I just kind of join those, make the eave extension a little bigger, like 3 feet. And that would make a little bit of a covered. Well, the eave on that part would be bigger, 3 feet, but most of it would just be like, 2 feet at the most around
Okay.
the rest.
And then the other question I had, are you putting a railing? Because it says something, about a railing. Are you going to put a railing around out back there? And if so, the type of, to make sure that it has a,
Are there any plans to install any like railings on the porch at all?
because there was mention of.
Back porch,
Yeah.
it has existing, it just has a couple existing vertical metal things.
Mm.
It's on the back of that picture. You can't see it. It's only a couple
Is there a rear
small
picture?
steps up to the porch,
Okay.
so.
And it has a top and bottom.
It's like vertical metal things that hold up that little existing overhang, so people can hold on to that if they needed to. It's just 2 steps.
So you don't plan on putting you just leaving there what's existing there? Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any further? Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
So now we will close the public hearing on this.
You don't have
and-
any more testimony cards?
Nope. Move to deliberation.
I move we approve this, unless there's any other questions.
I had a kind of an architectural question regarding that roof structure in the back. Not being an architect, I just wonder about the appropriateness of the concept.
I get what he's trying to do, and it's on the rear, to have that 3-foot overhang. It's a lot, but I think because it's in the rear, it's probably gonna blend in better, because the lower roofs are close to that. I mean, structurally, he's gonna have to tear the roof out to extend that, to give it the structure it needs. But Ken, your question would be, is 36 too much? Should it be back at 20 or 30?
Well, the staff recommendation was
Was-
not to exceed 30 inches.
I think it said 36. didn't it?
36,
It
yeah.
did say 36.
I stand corrected, okay.
As
It says 1 foot overhang with a maximum of 3 feet. So it'd be all right.
Yeah, okay.
And so, yeah, that is kind of my question too, is with the inner gable above the back door being not extending any farther out than the main eve, is that appropriate? I'm trying to think.
Well, and part of it is,
So-
when that comes out 3 feet, that barge is gonna rest on the other gables, the
Mhm.
lower gables.
Mhm.
But typically on something like that, you'd have some knee braces or something, so it would be
Supported.
pretty far out, but given that the left and the right are... The only way you'd see that is if you're going down the alley.
Yep. Any other comments?
I think this does protect the siding and, because the way that is now, there's not much of a protection if you get the weather. So I think it's going to improve it.
It's very unusual in Oregon to see a house with no overhanging eaves. It looks like it got
Yeah.
moved from Nebraska, not Vanport.
Sod house or something.
It's definitely a very period sensitive house. It's very unique to a certain
And is the
time.
one behind it, were those both moved at this, because it looks like it was, okay. Because I looked at that and went, it looked like it was from, the same,
According to our records,
Cookie
they
maker.
were both moved at the same time, yes.
We make a motion?
You may.
I'd move to make a motion to approve HR 1705 as stated here.
as presented.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that.
I can do roll. Board Member Met,
Aye.
Board Member Blythe,
Aye.
Board Member Mann,
Aye.
and Board Member McLaughlin,
Aye.
and Chair Basinger.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we will now reopen the public hearing as we move on to the next agenda item 4D, HR 17-06, addition of a garage to individually designated landmark on Hiram Avenue.
At this point, I will ask the board members if they have any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, bias, or any other statement to declare. You visited the site.
Yes.
I have not visited the site.
I have visited the site.
I visited the site.
I visited.
Any member of the audience wish to question the board members about these disclosures? None. We will commence with the staff report for 16430 Hiram Avenue.
So, what we have here is this applicant was in here a little while ago. They were looking to revamp the home that's there right now. And one of the renderings they had, they were going back and forth with the garage, not knowing whether or not they should put it in there or not. And then when they came to the Historic Review Board meeting, they brought one of those renderings with the garage with them. And the initial impression that I think the board, some of the board members may have given was, yeah, this could be supported if gone through the process. So they went ahead and submitted an application and are moving on with the garage addition. So this is where the site is located. It's at the intersection of Rock Street and Hiram Avenue. Again, what the site plan looks like. So this upper portion here is where the garage would be expected to go. So located behind the home off of Hiram. And here are some of the renderings of what the garage looks like. So be tucked back behind the home. Siding to match the main structure of the home, and this was the rendering that we got. This was the updated rendering, so they did revise it with a change in the columns. So, in case you're curious about that, doors that they open vertically. I think they have 3/3 lighted windows at the top. And side and rear view, the other side and rear view. They do show in these projections the garage with a breezeway connected here and right here. That is something that I do not think may be necessarily appropriate for the time period of this home. I'll get into that in just a second. And here are some of the pictures of what the home looks like today. So the garage would go in this back section over here, and then after that garage is constructed, this garage in the back would be demolished. And so the conditions of approval. So the one item that really stuck out to me was the breezeway. I don't think it's necessarily appropriate with the overall time period and listing of the home. And then the only reason I struck that out is because I thought it was probably just a redundant statement to have it, or word to have in there. And then kind of more or less the other conditions of approval that went with the home that was previously approved.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Would you like to? State your name and address for the record, please.
Kevin Granger, 16430 Hiram Avenue. And yeah, as Trevor said, we discussed the possibility of the garage last time, and we actually had a neighbor who was here last time. She recommended a garage because she said there were so many times when people would park like in front of her house or something, and so she thought just for the neighborhood it would be a lot better to have a designated garage. And then I also had kind of an informal conversation with one of the other neighbors. They said, "Oh, you really need it because Rock Street right there, you can see it's a pretty narrow street."
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be great because there's so many times when people will think they're just parking there for a few minutes, and then it turns out to be a longer time, and you don't know which neighbor they're visiting or something. So if somebody could just pull off there and really have a designated garage, it'd be a lot better. And then, as Trevor said, the architect and the contractor that I'm working with, they had both kind of said, "Hey, in Oregon it rains a lot, so the breezeway would be nice." It's not a deal breaker to me. If that's, I do want to first and foremost get approval of the garage, but and the breezeway, I would be willing to, compromise on if that's a deal breaker. I don't know how everybody feels about that, or how. We were trying to keep the whole architectural plan kind of in context with the house, and one of the board members last time kind of recommended, "Hey, this is nice because it doesn't overpower the house." And so then we were thinking the same thing when he said this breezeway is going to be, pretty much in the back, not going to really overpower anything. So that was kind of our thoughts on it.
Anybody have questions?
I have questions. Can I ask you? The breezeway is a good idea. It might be the only thing holding the house up eventually, right?
Yeah.
You've got a job ahead of you.
But it's not appropriate historically. I'm curious, on the drawings it doesn't show the roof pitch of either the house or the garage. Do you know what that is?
I don't know the exact pitch.
It's almost like a Cape Cod.
Because typically on a vernacular house like that, a garage would be added later, and it would be something like what's here, but it's a pretty flat pitched roof, where on the primary house, it's probably like an 8. And this looks like it's about a 3.
Okay.
And it really should be a little steeper as a pitch. The side of the garage, that Rock Street, when I drove up it is narrow, but the garage is still visible. And typically on a garage like that, it would probably be a half-light door on the side there, instead of one with a moon that came from Home Depot, so to speak. Because trying to keep it in character with the house.
Okay.
It's a common garage, it's a common house. But would you be opposed to that?
Oh, not at all. But I don't quite understand. Like if you're going up Rock Street and looking over at
You'll see that side of the garage. It's very
right.
visible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so that side is kind of a primary side
Right.
as well. So I think that's where the staff's probably saying the breezeway is not historic or
Okay,
it's
okay.
appropriate. And that door really should be a half light door, would be half-light glass. And then the pitch. My question would be on the appropriateness of the existing pitch on the drawings. It doesn't say, and it should. But right now, it kind of looks like a 312, which would
Okay.
be too flat.
Okay, I can ask the both the contractor and the architect came to the last meeting with me, and I have to admit they're the experts on that stuff, and I'm not. But I'm sure that's something that they would have an answer to and be willing to make a change on the pitch.
Pitch wouldn't be hard. They're just trusses.
Yeah, yeah, and I can run that by both of them, and then half light.
A half light on the door. But then, what's the garage door? What does it consist of? Is it wood? Is it aluminum?
As far as I know, that's aluminum because they said it's a vertical.
It's a roll-up door.
Yeah,
Right.
and so they said that you have to have it pretty light. So
Is there anything from the staff regarding the garage door or what's
Yeah.
appropriate for it?
Let me check here quickly.
I don't know that it says anything.
I thought it
It's
said
pretty
something
sure that
about
sectional
that.
doors are available in wood as well as.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some. I mean, an
With
aluminum
that
one would be
fenestration.
fine, but it would something that is light. You're right.
I think it. Oh, 1 second here.
What was that?
So no biggie. The pitch of the garage would typically be a little less than what the house is.
yeah, I do recall the architect said that generally it is not quite as steep.
Yeah, this one's a little too flat.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all I was asking about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I think my main concern was just the composition of the garage door. So if,
I don't know what it is.
Huh?
I don't know what it is. Typically, we'd see a picture of
Yeah.
the finish or
so-
what it is.
But that's something that we could leave to staff review.
Yeah, and here I'm just looking at what it says here, and then it calls for either wood or
Wood or-
painted metal.
right.
Is what it calls for. And
But
then,
they could have glass as long as you don't have grids in the glass. That's what you're saying. Because the side windows wouldn't have glass.
Right.
Or grids, sorry. Yeah, yeah. That's all I was asking.
So, excuse me, just to clarify, so you're saying that the condition needs to specify the roof pitch on
Well, I
the
think if we were to
garage?
approve this, it would be approved with additional conditions.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? If not, we thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot.
We will
Deliberate.
end the public hearing and move to
Do you have
discussion.
any public testimony?
Nope.
So then, as far as like those conditions, do I just I'll convey those to the architect and the contractor, and then
It would still have to be done right now.
It'll be documented for you.
okay.
stick around a little longer.
Okay.
Or and whatever.
Yeah, you don't have
Actually,
to.
not here.
You don't have to sit there.
Not that we object to you being here. Discussion. How would you phrase that regarding the roof pitch without
Well, I guess I'd be curious
specifically
if anybody
knowing?
else has any comments on that, or what if I said something
Well,
that wasn't
I think
right.
your observation was on point.
Yes.
I don't recall what's in the design guidelines specifically for roof pitch.
It's either anything between 8 to 12, some.
And the house
And
is
this-
probably an 8 or maybe a 10. Because the front part of the house was the primary structure, and then
Right,
it was added on in the back.
Yeah.
And that's pretty steep. So if anything, that typically when you approve a garage, it would be kind of subjugated to
Main
to the
structure,
house.
right.
If the house is, say, the 10, then maybe you'd say an 8,
Yeah.
something like that. So that's why I was asking, there's nothing on here that shows the pitch of the roof.
I think, can we leave that, give those generic guidelines that it should be greater than what it is, but less than the pitch of the main house, and let the staff.
I think it would have to be something between a 6 and what the existing house is. Because it shouldn't be less than a 6.
Okay, I'm doing some arithmetic here from the drawing on page 6, which shows the ridge height at 13.8, the ridge height of the house at 13.8, and the top plate on the garage at
I think it's 8.
8 feet.
Yeah.
So you got 5'8" difference in pitch. I mean, difference in roof height. And now I think I see why the pitch is what it is. It matches the cross.
It matches the new trusses that
Yeah.
they're putting on,
Right.
which they're wanting to keep below the existing ridge
Yep.
and keep it flat in the back. But, and I don't know if that was something that was approved in the previous.
No, we didn't discuss the garage.
Gotcha. No, I mean like this back.
Oh, yeah,
You must have approved that back?
that we did, yes.
We did,
approve
yep.
an addition.
Yeah, okay.
I think the existing pitch is more or less like that as a measurement.
Right now, it
There's
looks like a
a-
ski slope.
So we approved, there was an addition, and then we approved a bump out in the corner to that addition. Part of that was already there, I think, at the back.
So, but I don't think it'd be inappropriate to say something between a 612 and what is on the existing front, which the owner or somebody would have to accurately figure out. I mean, that could be something in the conditions.
How would you word that?
It could say it in the motion.
No less than,
Yeah, it would be
And then no
greater
more
than
than-
6, no more than what's
whatever the existing
original
is, yeah.
existing pitch, something like that. And
Okay.
part of that would be adding it. I mean, whoever makes the motion would be, or I could make it up and wing it about the side door needs to have a half light for appropriateness. So those are the only two things I saw.
Yeah, and I agree that the breezeway is not appropriate to the house.
Yeah, it needs
Right.
to go.
And I believe that's in the design guidelines too, for open breezeways. We have approved some breezeway-like enclosed structures in the past, attaching wings, but that's not really the case here.
Anyone else? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I can do it and try and make it up as I go.
I was gonna say, you had, you were almost there.
Well, okay, let's try this. I'd like to make a motion to approve HR 1706 with staff conditions, with the additional conditions of the man door facing Rock Street needs to be a half-light door, and the garage roof pitch should be greater than a 612, but less than the roof pitch to the existing original house. That sounds simple enough.
Questions, Trevor?
I think it's clear to me, yeah.
I'll second.
Second here. So to roll, Chair, or Board Member Matt,
Aye.
Board Member Blythe,
Aye.
Board Member Mann,
Aye.
Board Member McLaughlin,
Aye.
and Chair Basinger.
Aye.
Okay. Motion is approved, and it's approved with the additional conditions of with a condition of a half-lit man door on the side of the garage, and then a roof height on the garage of greater than 6 to 12, but less than the existing home. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Awesome.
All right. The next item on the agenda is communications.
So I have one thing here. I think this is the time. Yeah. One thing here. So it's Movies in the Park,
Oh, yeah.
which would be every Friday in Wesley Lynn Park during August. Every Friday in August, Movies in the Park at Wesley Lynn Park, starting at, what's the
Is it
city?
Tanner Park, I think.
Wesley Lynn?
Wesley Lynn.
Starting at 8:30. Yeah.
Oregon City.
Yeah, Oregon City.
Wesley Lynn. Cool.
And then also concerts in the park start July
Wow, Rogue One.
13th.
Party.
It's the weekend after, it's a Thursday after 4th of July. Not the next day, but so 5 plus 7 would be the 13th, 12th.
That's mostly what I have for communications. Coming up in the future, we have some neat applications next month. We have cottage housing thing back on the table and some grant applications on the table. So,
The cottage in Kanema.
yeah, some alterations were made to the application, and that'll be coming your way. So, should be fun. That's all I have.
If there's nothing further, this meeting is adjourned.
Did you want this, or should we recycle?